So I got sick of realm 1, Earth, and I wanted to leave it. So I leave my body. So I'm reaching for my door and I look back to see my physical body on the bed. And I do see myself, but it's myself performing an action that I did a couple hours previously. I was reaching for my vape out of my bed. And so that triggered me. I was like, oh, okay, so I'm seeing myself do something a couple hours before. I asked to access my soul record.
But wait a minute. That's wild. I mean, that's I'm trying to process that really quick. You're telling us that you saw yourself doing a past action. Like, were you freaked out? Like, what came to your mind? Were you like, oh, that's cool? Or like, what went through your head when you saw you doing something that you remember doing already? What if I told you that everything you know is just the beginning? Beyond the veil of the ordinary lies a realm of hidden knowledge, ancient wisdom, and untapped potential. A place where consciousness expands, reality bends, and the impossible becomes possible. You weren't meant to stay asleep. You were meant to awaken. Open your mind, remember who you truly are, and step with me beyond the frequency 369. Hey, before we start the episode, if you're on YouTube or Rumble, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. You want to make a comment? Go for it. It's America. If you catch me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit me with those 5 stars. I appreciate the support. Let's start the show. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Frequency 369. I'm your host, Cesar Pagan, and today we have a treat for all of you. I don't just have one guest, I have 2 guests. So this is the first time that you guys will notice on my episode that I'm interviewing 2 guests. So hopefully I don't mess things up too much, but I think we're going to be all right. Our first guest is Hector, and you guys will probably be familiar with who he is because he was on a recent episode before this one. So check him out when you get a chance. So we'll talk to him once again, see what's new with him, see what his future plans are, and see if he's got into any new experiences. And then also our next treat is going to be Andre. And Andre also does outer body experiences. So if I didn't mention this yet before we started the show, today's topic is outer body experiences. It's one of my fascinations as of recently. So I'm trying to get a lot of people who have experienced this, but not just talk about it, not just learn about it, reading it through books, reading it through stories, but have actually left their bodies. Yes, folks, I said it. They have left their physical bodies and they have gone to what folks in the OBE community call home, where we're from. So I'm going to let them explain that just a little bit more here soon. But with all that being said, and without any further ado, I want to introduce to you Andre and Hector. Andre, how are you?
Well, I'm well, Cesar. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming to the show. And Hector, what's up with you, buddy?
Doing great. Thank you for having me. Andre's a good friend of mine, so it's good to tag team this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to have you guys on here. Hey, Andre, did you know why he called himself Bam?
No, I do not.
By any means necessary. By any means. That's what I mean.
By any means, heck.
By any means.
Yeah.
I like that. I
thought it was just like bam, you know?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, heck, bam, you know.
Heck, bam.
That too. But it got me.
That too. So Hector, I hear that you are starting a new project, maybe a podcast. Is this true? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. We so the channel's getting a lot of attention, and a lot of the comments is, when you're coming out with a podcast, and like you, I'm very interested in spiritual growth and the in-body experience. So we're going to do a combination of, actually, my co-host is going to be that guy right there doing the podcast with us today, Andre. So we'll be having experts in the in-body state, which is the IBE, what I call the IBE, the in-body state. We're on Earth, so we need to take all the resources available to make this life home while we're at it. So that's my main focus. And obviously, we exit the body on a regular basis, me and my co-host Andre, and bring back information. So we want to also interview people who exit the body and get information. And usually everybody who does leave the body is changed. Like we literally, you're transformed because you get to see the true nature of you, which is a boundless, limitless, and a God. So we're definitely going to cover that and another. So we're going to be covering the in-body state, the out-of-body state, and the near-death experiences. And the reason I want to cover the near-death experiences too is because a lot of these people really get to see bits and pieces of what awaits us. So by enticing people with that world, we can get them to have a better in-body experience as well as facilitate the outer body experience. So we're going to have those three topics as the main meat and potatoes of what we do. So yeah, I'm coming out and it's probably going to be out there already. So we're starting with a series of tutorial with a couple parts, probably 4 or 5 parts on the outer body state, with my experience. And it's going to be a complement to Darius's teachings, which is what, how we got to leave the body consciously. It was through his teachings. At least that's my experience, probably Andres too. So it's a complement to what he's teaching right now. So very excited about that. I'm going to be away for a little bit of time. I'm doing a retreat for about a month. And when I come back, we should start pumping episodes out.
Fantastic. I'm excited about that. And Andre, I want you to speak a little bit about that too, man. Like podcasting, have you ever even thought about it until recently? Like, why are you getting into it? Why Bam? Why did you choose him? Like, talk to me about all that.
I chose him.
No, yeah. So Cesar, it's not so much podcasting as it is spreading the message, right? Waking up people to the other side, telling people that there is an eternal aspect to themselves and life is greater than what you see in everyday life here. So Hector, approached me. Me and Hector, we've been friends in the out of body community for quite some time now. And when he approached me with the opportunity or the idea to do a podcast, I thought that was just an excellent way for us to get the message out. I'm an out of body explorer. I've had plenty of experiences. Hector's had plenty of experiences. So when two of us get together, I believe it will be a great platform to help spread the message.
Love that. I love that. I'm not familiar personally with outer body podcast, so you guys are probably going to be the first ones that I'm going to tune into. So I hope everybody listening, if you're trying to understand or figure out, or even just if you're just curious, I say you guys go ahead and check these gentlemen out. Have you got a name already by chance, or is that even in the works?
It's in the works. Okay. I came up with something that is a made up word.
Okay. All right. So you guys are hearing it. This is all behind the scenes. There's still stuff happening. But what we do know is that this will be coming out. And as soon as they have their podcast out, I will be supporting you guys. So I'll also be spreading it on my feeds as well. So, we just get it out there, man. Get the conversation going from the jump, right?
And you owe us an interview too, though, because you're the host here, but you'll be a guest there. So.
Man, beautiful, man. I love it, man. I always want to make sure I tell folks is always support small podcasts. Like, it's so important, everybody's so focused on these big giant podcasts and they're doing all this stuff. But at some point, not to take credit away from the big podcast, but at some point they're just like a machine. They're just pushing out episodes and conversations and guests. While the small podcasts, we're really like digging into the conversation. We're right now, we are in this stage of just having fun. We're having fun, but also outside of having fun, where we also are passionate, really passionate, like fresh about the passion and about the things that we're talking about. By all means, guys, if you guys see a small podcast that has like 10 subscribers, push play, just see what they're talking about. You might just be pleasantly surprised. Okay. So yeah, I just want to make sure I get that out there. So, all right, gentlemen. So let's get to you guys. So Bam, I already, I got the gist of what's going on with you. We got the gist of who you are and why you got into the outer body experience in the last episode. So later on in this episode, we're going to talk more about some of those little details that people might be asking the questions. But for now, let me turn our attention over to Andre. Andre, this is the first time to have you on Beyond the Frequency 369s. Let's talk about, give us a little brief about who you are as a physical person, and then let's dive into why the outer body experience. Out of all things that you could have chosen, all right, you could have been anything in the world, you could have done anything in the world, but you chose the outer body experience. So I think people want to know why, because some people might be thinking the same thing and going down the same route. So let me turn it over to you, Almins.
Yeah, thank you, Cesar. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Andre. I like to say I'm an aerospace project engineer by day, out-of-body traveler by night. So during the day, I go to work as an aerospace project engineer, which is kind of ironic, seeing as how I now know that space doesn't exist, is how they say. But what brought me to out-of-body experiences is I had always been into spirituality, meditation, manifestation, and things of that nature. But I didn't like how nobody seemed to have all of the answers. They would only go so far, or some things that they would say wouldn't match up or line up to me. And then my mom had passed away, and she was giving me messages of like she's okay. Like I had this great understanding that she was okay, and messages of like I'd be in meditation and these thoughts and like communication was coming to me, and she was saying like she's figured it out, meaning she's figured out what happens to us when we pass. And she was telling me that I can figure it out too. And it's really crazy because at the same time, I was experiencing sleep paralysis naturally every night. And this happened for like 6 weeks, 8, maybe 2 months. Every night I was having sleep paralysis. I'd wake up, freaking out, trying to break out of it. And then I was on YouTube one day, and I believe it was the Next Level Soul podcast, and I seen Darius J. Wright on that podcast, and he was talking about sleep paralysis and the other side, and how it's the gateway to even your body. And he says if people do it naturally, but he says he can do it in a way where he can control it and shut his body down. And not only was he telling me that he could do it, he was also telling me that he could teach me how to do it. So that's all I needed to know. And after, I joined Darius's community, and I learned how to consciously shut my body down and leave it and see the other side. And then what made me stick with it is, I mean, as soon as you leave your body, you see your physical body on the bed. You look at your soul hands, you see their physical, you touch things, and they feel more real and more dense than here where we are. You see things, colors are brighter, all of your senses are more alive, and you feel free. As soon as that happens, you know that's more real than here. And all it takes is one time, and you realize the importance of it. And so now I'm starting this path, and Hector is as well, of doing what people on the other side consider the great work, which is waking people up to the fact that the other side exists, it's real, and you are an eternal soul. So that's kind of what I'm doing now.
I definitely appreciate that, man. So that gives us an idea of how you got here, which again, like, same thing with Hector. I actually ran into Darius as well. So in the same way that you guys did. So he definitely was talking about something, and it's not just the teaching and the way he delivers certain things. It's the fact that he allowed us to remember. He allowed us to remember, like, hey, you know what? Something about that resonates. So he just kind of gave it back to you and everything. So I definitely feel where you're coming from. Andre, okay, give me your first OBE experience. Do you remember that? I don't know how long ago that was. Or you can talk to me about, a better one, but
Yeah. So I'll do both real quick for you. So at first, my out of body experiences were very brief, and they were very strong. So like I said, I was into meditation. So I was experiencing sleep paralysis every night. This was around the time my mom passed. And when I would be in meditation at night, I'd be trying to astral project or leave my body at the time. At the time, I thought it was like astral projection. So in these meditations, in like 5 or 10 minutes, the whole room would start spinning, and I'd feel like I was getting sucked out of my body, and I'd hear a loud boom, right? And I'd be out, and then I'd be so scared I wouldn't even open up my eyes, right? So that was like my first experience where I'm like, okay, something is definitely happening and I don't know what it is. And then I found Darius and his teachings on what the other side is and what leaving your body is. So the first time I consciously shut my body down and I left it and I seen something, I was practicing his method. And then the next thing you know, I noticed myself floating. So I'm laying on my bed and then I feel a floating sensation. And that's one of the signs that you're out. And it feels exactly as if your physical body is floating. There's no difference. Like if I was laying here and my physical body started floating, it feels the exact same. So I notice I'm floating, and so I get up and I stand up and I look to the right of me. I was on the left of my bed. I look to the right of me. I see my physical body on the bed. And at the time I was married, and I see my wife laying next to me. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm out. I see my body, and I got so excited, I came right back in my body. And I spent a long time doing just that, just coming out, seeing stuff. I'd see my wife's thought forms playing out. I'd see, like, it'd be nighttime when I'd be practicing. And when I would come out, my room would be bright. So I'm like, oh, I must be out of my body. And I'd see my wife doing something, talking on the phone, her thought forms or potential. It wasn't time events. I was more so seeing her thought forms in dimensional spaces. And then that progressed to me being more comfortable, leaving my room, flying through my roof, to walking around my neighborhood, just getting comfortable with the fact of being out of my body because, we're taught to fear things here. We're taught there's demons, there's ghosts, there's all this scary stuff, right? So there was a lot of fear present. So I spent a long time just, taking it easy, not trying to go too far. And then one day I had an experience. There was a time in my life where I was seeking some guidance. I was seeking some answers, and I had enough, right? And I wanted to get out and see something. So this time, you're muted, Cesar.
Sorry. Thank you. Let me pause you right there, Andre, real quick. Before you go to this next story, I want to break down a couple of things from your first experience, because this is for people that are listening to like, wait a minute, he was floating, then all of a sudden he was seeing this. And then, so let's break down some of this stuff here to help people kind of visualize what was happening here. So I'm going to ask a few questions. The first thing is, you mentioned that you felt like you were floating above your body, and then you just stood up. So were you floating, or was it just a feeling of floating? Let me ask that first.
So I was floating. My soul was floating. So when I say I felt that floating sensation, my physical body's on the bed, but my soul is floating. And it feels as if your physical body's floating, but it's not. It's on the bed.
And then when you say, so from that state, from you floating up top, you just kind of like floated onto the ground and then started like walking? Or because when you said I got up, I'm trying to visualize what that looks like.
All right. So when I'm out of my body, it's not like physical here, like where you have to transition from floating to standing up. It's more so just a thought, like, okay, I'm standing up, and then you're standing up.
Okay. I appreciate you clarifying that, because yes, some folks are hearing this and they're visualizing it in a step-by-step format. You put a right foot down, and, so I want to make sure that we clarify that as we're providing this information, so folks really understand that there are some similarities when you, like how you say it's physical also, but then it's more physical. So then people are going to be like, and that's actually my next question. People are going to be like, what the heck does he mean by more physical than physical? Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah. So you're out of your body and you're back into your eternal aspect. So when I say you can float and then stand up, it's because you're back to your God aspect, right? So whatever you think manifests instantly and things of that nature. Now, when I say it's more physical, it is, but it's more physical in a sense where when I touch something, like say I touch my phone here, if I touch it, I feel all the fibers of this phone. I feel every component that's inside of this phone. I can feel everything. But at the same time, if I really wanted to, I could vibrate at a certain frequency and still move through my phone. So it is physical, as if when you touch things, you feel every fiber. It feels more real. Everything feels alive. you could say.
I love that explanation. So right now, when I touch a table, I feel just the surface of the table. But in this other, when you're home, when you're out of your body, there's you really feel it. Like you feel, like you said, every fiber, every molecule, and that's by definition is how you feel it more physical. So I appreciate you explaining that. Hector, same experience. Do you agree with what Andre was saying, how he was explaining it, or do you have a little more to add to that physicality?
No, it's just how he explained it greatly. You, for example, a friend of mine exit the other night, and he wasn't intended to it, so he woke up actually right where Andre is to be. In Andre's background, you see the pyramids. My friend was inside the pyramids, and we know that because he he's seen all this Egyptian stuff that he has no mental relation with that. It was just so as far as physicality. So he said he had his child in his shoulders, and he seen a beetle. That Egyptian beetle but it was in like the real color that the beetle's got, like the green lumen, like it's kind of like how do you say it when it I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know,
like luminescent.
like a luminescent green, like it changes with the light. So he seen that, and he said he went to touch it, and he said, I touched it. He said I felt it. He said I couldn't believe that I could feel it so clearly in dream. But then he's moving through different spaces, and the crazy part is that as he was telling me the story, his 4-year-old is adding to the story. I get goosebumps right now. But the kid is, as my friend is talking to me, the kid is overhearing his father telling me. He's like, last night. You hear him in the background, like, yeah, we saw the beetle and blah blah blah. I'm like, so it's not just the dad is making stuff up, but we have the kid to verify it. I know it's not making it. I'm the one who told him, bro, you were, because he was in front of a like big libraries. I'm like, bro, you were on the halls of Amente, by the way, or so, So, yeah, it's very physical. My first experience that I recounted on our podcast that probably your viewers already seen, that knob that I grabbed, the same door I went through, it was very real. It's not like you're grabbing stuff and you see the light. So your senses are kind of heightened.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And Andre, so let's I did cut you off. So let's go back to your next experience.
Yeah. So at this point, after I felt comfortable navigating the out of body experiences, after I felt comfortable leaving my body, and I knew I was in complete control, and no matter what happened, I was in control. I could end it. I could go anywhere. When I gained that ability, and it lined up perfect, because there was a time in my life where I had enough here and I needed to get out. I needed answers, and I just had a strong itch. I got sick of realm 1. That's what we call it. If you guys aren't familiar with Darius's work, we call Earth realm 1, because we're in a construct and there's 12 realms. Realm 1. So I got sick of realm 1, Earth, and I wanted to leave it. So I set the intention to I actually did this by setting the intention to access my soul records. I wanted to find something about me, but I also had the intention to get out. So I leave my body, and this time I instantly go for the door, like I'm ready to go. But before I reach the door, because sometimes it feels no different than physical life. Like sometimes you need that confirmation, like, am I out of my body? I don't know. So I'm reaching for my door, and I look back to see my physical body on the bed, and I do see myself, but it's myself performing an action that I did a couple hours previously. I was sleeping. I used to vape. I quit now, but I was reaching for my vape out of my bed. And so that triggered me. I was like, oh, okay, so I'm seeing myself do something a couple hours before. I asked to access my soul record.
But wait a minute. That's wild. I'm trying to process that really quick. So, and everybody listening, like, let's catch up here. So that, first of all, that's awesome. I get the part that you look back for confirmation. I actually, as you were telling the story, I thought you were going to say that you look back, you saw yourself sleeping, and boom. But you're telling us that you saw us doing or you saw yourself doing a past action, like prior to going to sleep or something. Like, okay, let me ask you some obvious questions here that people are probably thinking about. Were you freaked out? Like, what came to your mind? Were you like, oh, that's cool? Or like, what went through your head when you saw you doing something that you remember doing already?
Yeah, so at this point in time, I was pretty familiar with out of body stuff. So it didn't freak me out. It didn't catch me by surprise. My first thought was actually, okay, so I asked to see my soul records. So immediately I'm presented with something happening in this life. So I instantly knew if I went back to check out my body, I could have seen, that was like, it was basically like a movie, right? Like I could have fast forwarded, see some past, some go back farther in my past. I could have maybe even seen some of the future, a potential future of mine or something.
Got it.
So it's like an instant knowing for me when things happen. Like I instantly know what's kind of going on. So yeah, it was just an opportunity for me to access this life, some time events in this life. Yeah.
Nah, yeah, by all means, continue there. I just wanted to break down,
Yeah.
that because you said it very, and I get it now that you explained that by this time you were already used to it. But for us following the story, we're like, whoa, we're like, you just look back and saw his past stuff. Like, okay, all right, so
Yeah.
I think we're caught up. So by all means, please continue.
Okay, yeah. You can access time events out of your body. You can access past events, future events. You can access thought forms, dimensional spaces. You can basically access any and everything that's ever existed. So if it's happened, you can access it. So yeah, so I'm at my door. I look back. I see that playing out. I said, I don't want nothing to do with me. I wanted to get out of here. So I open up the door. I instantly go for my mirror in my bathroom in the hallway because mirrors are portals. A lot of people, out of body travelers, they always say, oh, you can go through a mirror and it will be a portal. So I go in the mirror, I stick my hand in my mirror instantly, and I realize it is a portal. I can go through it. It's liquid. And it um, felt like a dense metal type of liquid, like mercury almost would be like the color, I would say, like, or like melted silver. It's kind of what it felt like. So I'm in my mirror, and at this point, I heard maybe I'll skip that part. But anyway, so I'm in my mirror and I go through it, I enter it, and I'm instantly in a vortex of water. And because mirrors, I found out, they don't take you to the same place every time. I'm sure you can set it up that way. I'm sure you can set up a portal that takes you to the same place every time. But what I've found out is it's based off your frequency and intention is where you'll access when you go through this portal. So
Let me ask about that. I'm sorry, Andre. So you are saying that, well, right now, do you feel you're at a level where you can set up the portal? Okay.
yeah,
But let's say for somebody who's brand new, more than likely, first time they come in front of a mirror, they're out of their body, they touch it, they don't know where they're going to end up because they're probably not thinking about a direction, right?
yeah, yeah.
What would be the advice that you would give somebody who maybe even unintentionally left the body, came across a mirror? Should that be their gateway to somewhere? Just go. I love it.
Just go.
I love it. All right, by all means, continue. Yeah.
Just go. And chances are, if you don't have a lot of knowledge or anything, you're going to end up somewhere that you need to see. Like some people go through their mirror and they'll end up back in their room. Some people will enter a mirror and there'll be another dimensional space, but it's always something valuable and important for you. It's based off your frequency. So, and if you're curious about something or something's laying heavy on your mind, you'll enter it and you'll be presented with it. So for me, I had a strong intention. I wanted to get out and see something, right? So this is my first time really trying to leave and break the boundaries and go. So as I enter the mirror, I found myself in what I can best describe as a strong vortex of water. I don't know what it's like to go through the firmament, but if I had to describe it, I would say like I was in the firmament. And I hear water all around me. I could feel the energy all around me. And instantly I'm like, this is my first time in a portal. So I'm like, okay, I'm just standing, I'm waiting to be transported somewhere, right? I'm like, okay, I'm in a portal. It's going to take me somewhere. but nothing happens. So I feel around. So I'm like, okay, maybe I have to move. Maybe I gotta move to get out of here. So I feel around to see like where I am. I feel to my left, it's solid. I feel to my right, it's solid. I feel behind me, it's solid. I feel above me, it's solid. I'm standing, so I know it's solid beneath me. I touch forward, it's empty. So that's the path I walk, right? So I walk forward for a little bit, and I don't know how long I was walking, because time is really just like a process of information, processing of information. Time doesn't really exist. It's just like how fast you process information. So I'm walking and I exit out of this tunnel. It was pitch black in this where I was. It was pitch black. And as soon as I get out of it, it's bright, very bright. And I see these tall buildings everywhere, tall new buildings. It looks kind of like it looks kind of like Dubai. Like that's the closest city feel I could describe it. But I notice I have a hazy tint over my eyes and I see some letters on it. So I realize I have goggles on. And in another OBE I had, I realized that I've been traveling out of my body for lifetimes. And I set these goggles up for my soul to have as I'm traveling to know where I am. So this time I didn't look at the words this time to tell me where I was, but in other OBEs I did, and the words tell me where I am. Because leaving your body when you're living, it takes a while for your memories to come back. So as you're traveling, you don't know where you are for a while. So I get there and I see and then after like, I don't know, probably the equivalent of a couple seconds, the haziness goes away and the glasses are off. So I'm just in this huge city. People are walking around. They look like humans, just like us. Everybody's walking around. So I'm just ecstatic. And the feeling I have here, this is the first time I felt this feeling, because when I leave my body and I'm around on Earth, I feel the same. Like I feel as if I'm a human still, kind of. But this is the first time that as soon as I got out of this tunnel or portal, I felt ecstatic. I felt bliss. I felt like I was 5 years old again, where you're just happy. I felt that this is what people describe as this unconditional love feeling of heaven, right? It's what they describe that feeling of. That's how I felt in my soul in this place. Just ecstatic, happy, smiling. I felt all of these feelings. So I'm walking, I'm just looking around, exploring the city. I'm walking down a sidewalk, and then something told me to look to my right. And I look to my right, and I see this guy. He's this little Puerto Rican guy with these big dopey eyes. And I'm like, oh, what's up, man? Who are you? And he was like, I'm Francis. And I look at him, and as soon as he said Francis, something clicked to me. And I said, oh, I know you. Francis, how you doing? How you been? I missed you. And I don't remember like where I knew him from, but I knew him. And he didn't seem surprised to see me. I was surprised to see him, but he was just like, yeah, man, I see you all the time, right? Like, no big deal. But to me, I was surprised. I was loving him. I wanted to give him a hug. I was like, hey, how you doing, man? So after, I say hi and stuff, I'm walking and I'm like, okay, so Francis, so where am I? I was like, what is this place? He was like, oh, this is Neo Soul. It was a place called Neo Soul. And I'm walking a little bit more. I'm like, Neo Soul, okay. And I said, okay, so what year is it? That's the first thought that I had. I was like, what year is it? Like trying to get some information about like where I am. And he goes, it's 2015 here. Now, mind you, this just happened last year in 2024. So he goes, it's 2015 here. And when he signaled here like this, I instantly knew, because communication there, it's like a knowing. It's like things just come to you. Like we were speaking in words, but more was said beyond the words. I understood, things new, and it's a knowing, right? It's like telepathic in a way. So when he said it's 2015 here, I instantly knew, okay, I'm not on Earth, I'm somewhere else. And I'm in Neo Soul and it's year 2015. So I'm like, oh, cool, I got that. And I look to the left of me, and there's a tall building with windows. And I look to the left of me, and I notice I'm in a different body. I was in like what could best be described as like a Nigerian type template. Like I was black. I look like a Nigerian, right? But I noticed I still have the same eyes and cheekbones. So like I still see myself in that body. I still knew it was me, but it was a completely different body. So the first thing I say was, oh my God, I'm a black man. And Francis goes, yeah, I am too. And that didn't make sense to me at the time because he's a Puerto Rican guy, right? I'm like, what do you mean you're a black man? You're Puerto Rican. I'm looking right at you, right? Later on, I realized Francis was setting me up to take me to another lifetime of mine as this black man in a place called Neo Soul that I lived before, and he was one of my friends in this life, and we were both black guys. So he was telling me that. So as I'm walking, I said, "Okay, Francis." So I look, I'm this black guy. I'm in Neo Soul. It's 2015. I said, "So Francis, what do I do here? Where do I go? Like what type of life do I live? Like where am I? Like what do I do?" He goes, "Okay, come with me." So we're walking, and we come up to a house. I said, "Oh, is this my house?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, really, it's your wife's house because me and my wife were having issues in this life, right?" So I said, "Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know." So I don't know what I'm about to walk into, but so I go into the house. And this is the last time I seen Francis. After I walk into this house, Francis was just gone. And in this experience, he was the black guy, my friend. So as soon as I walk into the house, I see my wife, and she goes, and I just look at her, and she goes, "Well, you don't have to be like that. You can give me a hug." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I give her a hug, and then I spent what felt like days experiencing my life there. I was a doctor. My wife was a doctor. We had kids. We owned a rehab clinic. And a lot of the same challenges that I'm going through in this life now, I was also going through in that life. So I was able to see how the challenges presented me in that life, what I did, and the outcome of it, so I don't have to repeat those same mistakes now. And it was a really humbling experience. And this whole experience, I was inside the body the whole time. Just I couldn't make out if I couldn't make out if I was making the decisions or if I was just reliving lifetimes. At the time, I couldn't. Now I know I was really just reliving these lifetimes. I was just re-experiencing these moments and these things. But because I was still me in this lifetime, every decision that he made was the same decision that I would have made. So it's kind of crazy. And this is when I say time is really just kind of processing the amount of information you can process, because it felt like I was there for days, but I wasn't. I was only there for like a couple minutes. So, but I experienced and I received enough information to perceive it as days. Eventually, an event happened where I had to leave my house. So I'm leaving my house, and as soon as I go up, open the door, everything's pitch black. So I knew, snap, I'm about to go back to my body. I don't want to go back to my body. So I used all of my might and focus to say, no, I'm going back to Neo Soul. I'm not going back to my body. I'm going back to Neo Soul. And it worked. And then I'm back in my house. But this time it's a different me. I'm a different version of me. And I have a different wife. I'm in a different house with different kids. So now I'm seeing a different lifetime of mine in Neo Soul. Similar challenges, similar age. And I got to see how that life played out. And then I had another experience with another version of me and another wife in another house. But all of them had similar themes. I was the same age, I was married, and I had similar issues and challenges that I was facing in this life. So all of them were relevant to me now. So it was a really valuable opportunity for me to see how I acted and how I can avoid making the same, I wouldn't say mistakes because there are no mistakes, but to see how I could be happier with myself after this life, right? The next times I was there for, this time it felt like months. Like it was so long. I was there for so long. It got to the point where I'm like, man, am I going to have to go to work? Because I don't know how to work here. I was like, I didn't leave my body to go to work, right? I was there for a very long time. And when I came back, this time I was in the body, living it sometimes, but other times I would be outside of the body, seeing it in like a third person. I would be able to see how I was making people feel. I was able to see how I was thinking. I was able to see the outcome of my actions. It was a life review. Like if any near-death experiencer says they have life reviews, So it was like a life review, but it was of different lifetimes of mine. So it was a very humbling experience. And then on my way back to my body, it became pitch black again, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna enter my body again." And I said, "No, I'm out. I'm finally free. I finally left realm one. I do not want to just go back to my body. I want to see how I get back to my body." So this is when everything that Darius earlier you said, Darius helps us remember. He truly does. And you really understand that when you're out of your body. If you really understand his information, all of this information came back to me. And I instantly remembered how the construct, how it worked, who I am, like what's going on. And as I'm coming back to my body, it was like I was this big god and I was being shrunk down to a human again. And as I was being shrunk down, there's 12 realms in this construct. And as I was being shrunk down, I seen the different realms, and they were presented to me as levels. That's not how they actually look. Sometimes things are presented to you based on your understanding and things that resonate with you. So they were presented to me as levels. So like as I'm coming down, I could zoom in and focus on one, and I'd see like angels. I'd say, oh yeah, that's the angelic realm. Or I'd see what we call the heavenly realms. I'd see ancient Egyptian realm. I could zoom in and see the pyramids. I couldn't zoom in on all of them. I just didn't have the time or focus. Everything was kind of happening so fast. But I was able to zoom in on a couple of them, and memories came back like, oh yes, that's that. And then it came, this is the biggest takeaway from this whole experience. And then it came for time for me to come back to realm one, where we are, Earth. And it was presented to me as just this little bubble, right? I mean, we're all in a firmament. It reminds me of a snow globe. That's what this universe is. It's like a snow globe. So all of these 12 realms, heaven, angelic realm, all of these are in the same snow globe. But realm one was particularly presented to me as this little bubble, and everything that I know, everything that I believe, everything that I've ever thought to be true in this life as Andre resided in this one little bubble. I was just outside of it, but everything that I knew to be true up until this moment resided in this bubble. And I got this sense of I can go back in here because I remember again, I'm a god. I can go back in here and I can do anything that I want, and I can help wake people up to the other side and everything. But also, when I came back to my body, I had this realization that seeing realm one as constrained as it is, the feeling. So I'm an aerospace engineer, right? I was just helping the human race get to Mars, right? Like that's what I'm working on. And seeing this, it made me realize all of these astronomers, our smartest physicists, our smartest mathematicians, our smartest scientists, aerospace engineers, they're trying to figure out all this stuff. They're trying to go to space. They're trying to do all of that, not knowing that they're in a little ball and you can't. They're trying to figure out, like Neil deGrasse Tyson and all these people, they're trying to theorize about wormholes, bending space-time. I just went through a portal. So like, I know it's real. I know it exists. So, and they're still theorizing about these things. So I realized, basically like, you can try to figure this out here in the human terms. You can take the scientific route. You can do all of those things, but nothing's going to be able to beat what you already are naturally and what you can already do naturally. If you just leave your body one time, you can go through a portal and now you know they're real. You can leave your body, leave the universe, leave the construct. You can see for yourself that, space isn't real and all of these things. So that was a big takeaway for me. And that's like, before that, I've heard, conspiracy theories. Oh, they're lying about space. Darius would say we're in a construct. But when I seen it for myself, and I seen it for a fact that we're literally in a ball, we can't get out of here, in our physical bodies anyways, it really put things into perspective for me.
Andre, that was, what's the right word for this? It was fantastic. It was marvelous. It was, for me personally, it was refreshing just to hear a different perspective of our existence. In your case, our true existence. And to your point about how some of these scientists are trying to figure out, this existence. They're using man-made tools to try to figure out the spiritual realm. It's like, and you can't do that. You can't do it. So first of all, there was a lot to break down from your story. Well said. Thank you so much for sharing that. Neo soul. I mean, it makes me wonder, as you were telling that, recounting that experience, is sometimes some of these near deaths. I wonder if people take a trip to neo soul but don't know it's neo soul. Like, sometimes they'll come across a big door. It might just be one small part of that entire city. And a lot of them say that they've seen these golden arches or, hallways. And, so who knows, but you went in there not through a near death. You went there through a controlled state. So you had more conscious awareness of what was happening, give or take some of the stuff that you didn't remember, but sound like you had somebody there who was available to you to help you remember. And I believe, if you guys correct me if I'm wrong, that's considered like a spirit guide, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Francis would be what people would consider a spirit guide.
Okay.
But when you're doing out of body experiences and you see them like I see you, it's just your friend, right? Spirit guides sometimes. So when you're talking to spirit guides, when you're in your physical body, they seem like some mystical person, some angel, some of them are angels, right? Some of them literally are, but they seem like some mystic person. But a lot of times spirit guides are we're all souls. So he's just a friend, he's just a real good friend of mine.
And that's hence why in your recount of your experience, you were talking about like, man, I missed you. Like, and he was like, yeah, okay, like we've done this quite a few times and everything. And who knows? I'm just taking a wild guess out here, but who knows if the roles were reversed, you would have been the guy that he would have been like, oh, I missed you, and you're like, yeah, right? So I'm sure we do that for each other. So I want to touch base one quick question regarding your story, and then we'll go back to talking to both you and Hector. You mentioned that you were able to relive a few of your lives. So you said that you went ahead and determined that you were sitting in the seat, but the car was in motion, right? Like the life, you were just basically in it, but it was just acting out. You didn't really control anything. You weren't sure whether you were controlling it or not, but I mean, that I was trying to process that with what you were saying. I think I understand that. I think most folks understand that too, but that's amazing. Like, and you took away something from that, or from a few of those experiences, which refreshed my memory. You mentioned that you took away that there were a couple of lessons that you seem to have repeated in your past lives that you probably took back to this life, to this experience, to make sure that you don't repeat. Is that how I took it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I did. So it's not like if I did repeat them, there's no love lost, right? It's just another experience. But seeing what I seen, I know how to navigate these things, and I seen the outcome, and nothing was wrong with those other lives I lived. They all had beautiful outcomes, and it's all an experience, There's no right answers here. But seeing what I seen and knowing what I know, and I know this is my last time here, I don't want to do those things. Like, I'm not here to go to work all day, sacrifice my life for, certain things. I'm here to awaken fully and to wake up other people. This is my last time here. So I'm just moving in accordance with that.
I love that. And the fact that you even claiming that this is the last time that you're coming back is amazing to hear as well. I hope that's where, if that's the end result of all your experiences, which is now I'm meeting the last version of this, soul here on earth before he moves on to a different realm. Hey, dude, it was awesome to meet you. Before, well, actually, now that I say that, I was just thinking I probably already know you, right?
Probably.
Very interesting. So, all right, so let's get back Hector in here, and I'm going to ask you both something here. So people have concerns and myths about OBEs. especially the whole fear state of mind, what they're going to see. Hector, let me ask you first. What's two of some myths or concerns that maybe you had prior to having your own OBE experience, or that you've heard of other people bring up as concerns, and see if you can kind of clarify or fill in those gaps for us, please.
It's very important topic, because there is nothing to fear. So the biggest misconception about fear is fear. There is nothing to fear, not one thing. You want to talk about fear? I'm not going to give you my experience lately. But when you look at what most people consider the most fearsome being out there, and you realize that also they need what we have, which is access to light, you become fearless. And that's probably a little too deep for this conversation, but there is nothing to fear. There is nothing at all to fear. And so the nefarious beings that they are just, they exist, but they are not that bad. They can't touch your soul. That's what I'm saying. We've been conditioned to be afraid of them, but they cannot touch you, because they are a different creation that you are. And what the only access that they have to you is that which you give them, and you give it and you take it away. So when you listen to a guy like Andre speak, it's like, to me, I can't help but to get it's just so much confidence. Like, there's you see a mirror, what did he say? Just go through it, go through it, go through it. There's nothing, you're not going to find something on in realm one. Yes. In realm one, while you're moving away from here, you might find some stuff that shook, and it's still, I still sometimes feel for example, I had a being come and he wanted to take me somewhere, and he was dressed on a black hood. What do we know as the black hooded being? The Green Reaper. He coming to take me. You know what I mean? That is what that's what's in our memories. The brain stores information. Anything that is stored in this gray matter never exit that gray matter. It's still a cell in there with that information imprinted in it. So in this video that I put out, the last video, I'll speak a little bit about that, but you need to be okay with your fears, because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is standing in front of fear and moving in spite of it. And when you take that step, so if you're scared of seeing something, guess what? You're gonna see it, but stare at it in the face and be like, let's go. And that's the next chapter for humanity, because people pay taxes because they're afraid. Who wants to share their income with a government that doesn't know how to distribute it? Why you do it? Because you don't want to go to jail, because they have you scared that you're going to jail. So most of the things that we do, the conditioning of the human mind is fear-based. So I know that I know I'm not rambling. This is very important that you hear it, because there is nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. Like, even if you face this, even if you see these beings, they're not at your level. A human is the embodiment of the creator itself. And these beings are creation just like you are, but they were created with different biologies, different bodies. They're not you, and they know it. So all you need to do is stand your ground. Because I don't face them. They don't come near me. They only come near me because they want to move through the light through me. They want to move to the light through me. They want me to open a path for them to move out of their sorrow, out of their, Earth is experiencing many changes, and humanity is in charge of making these changes happen. So the moment that you make peace with everyone, including the things that you are afraid of, you will open those doors for all to come in. Because when the great celebration happens, nobody's left out. So you might as well start making peace with your fear. Again, I will repeat it, and I'll cut short with this, but there is nothing to fear. And if you do fear something, it's okay, because you don't get to be courageous without facing your fears. So courage is not the absence of fear, but to act in spite of it. So don't let the little fear-based, it's real, but it doesn't apply to you when you're on your full power. And when you leave your body in consciousness, you're in your full power. I experience these beings because they have a way of moving, and they move within the shadows. They don't want for people like us to expose the way they move. So when you try to expose the way they move, they're gonna try to stop you. And I've experienced that firsthand. And guess what? I'm still here. I'm more powerful today because they didn't get to control me. So once you realize that every control, anything that controls the soul is fear-based. So if you want to be free, if you want to be free from those fears that are stopping you from accessing these places, face them. Like anything in life, like any other fear in life. If you're afraid of heights, go start climbing. If you're afraid of the water, start swimming. If you're afraid of whoever or whatever, face it. That is what the soul does. The soul is ready, is able, is strong. If you knew who you were, you wouldn't be afraid of shit. Look at that guy right there, Andre. I'm telling you, I that's why he's gonna be my co-host, because even at a deeper level, with this is not our first time doing this type of work, before this life, and we both know that. I haven't met that many dudes out there that they're just strong-willed. You're not going to. No, I'm not going back to Earth. I'm staying Neo Soul. You know what I mean? That's like, okay. Well, and guess what? He stayed. And you know what? He's a aerospace engineer, but that same, on Earth. If you take control of your will, you get what you want. That man right there, he is an aerospace engineer because he willed that shit to be. So fear is real. Face it, and you'll be greater than your fears.
Well said. And yeah, I appreciate you breaking that down, because as you were saying that, it does resonate with me too, that, we get taught to face our fears even from a young age, at least one of our parents. I don't think there's, for the average child that comes into a two-parent household and everything, at least one of them is always teaching that kid, face your fears, stand up to bullies, just be as fearless as possible. So, in a sense, it's like, where does that come from? Well, that's because we do that at home too, like it's just something from the macro to the micro, right? Things like that. So Andre.
And hold on, and it's fearful, excuse me. And that's just a soul brain. That is a neurotransmitter called cortisol. It's brain. This is stuff from the body. It's not, out there. What are you gonna be scared of? Nothing. There's nothing to be afraid of. So it's that everything happens. That's why our podcast is going to be a lot of the in-body state and the in-body experience, because whatever we're experiencing now is just a muddy mirror of what we do out of the body. So you know how my dad taught me how to not be afraid of drowning? He threw me in the water. He was like, and watch me sink and watch me. I remember looking up and going down. And he's like looking at me, and I remember my eyes it was in the sea in Puerto Rico, in the ocean. It's like, you gonna learn how to swim. I didn't want to swim. He like, I was probably 3 or 4. He didn't go, no, face your fears. Kick up, swim. You're strong. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
You're good. And I bet you're a hell of a swimmer now.
I'm here.
Bet you was kicking like crazy and stuff. No, that's awesome, man. And I was like, yeah, the fear thing, man, you're right. Fear controls everything, but it's hard to, there's a lot of people that say like, all right, I'm going to stand up to this thing, whatever it is in life. And then you get up to it and you shit bricks, so it's hard because we're so trained to depend on things outside of ourselves. We are so programmed and trained that we're not that strong, that we need other things to help us move forward in life, when in reality, we brought ourselves to this realm to experience this on our own free will. We chose this experience, good or bad, poor or rich. We chose this. We didn't act. So, we don't really need per se, to be dependent on people too much, because in the physical realm, let's be real here. Right now, we're having this experience. We do need to learn from other people. We do need to have conversations. There are journeys that we will need to, coexist with other ascended masters, if you will. so we can help each other climb that mountain, so to speak. So, but again, at the end of the day, to your point, Andre, we are inside. And I use the word gods. We use the word gods not to be disrespectful towards the creator or anything, but if we are talking about that we are a fractal of the one, then let's just call it what it is. We are gods. Okay. I didn't say we are God. I just said we are gods, or a portion of him. So, Andre, I wanted to bring the same question to you, but I also wanted to know, a lot of people believe and are scared that if they leave their body, something is going to take over their body. Can you talk to me about that? Is that true? Is it even possible? How can you prevent that from happening? That's really what's stopping a lot of people to have an OBE.
Yeah. So everything here is a misconception, and we're misguided to believe it's true when it's not. Everything about the other side has been taught to be scary. Like Hector was talking about seeing a hooded being and thinking it's the Grim Reaper. We have scary movies, possession movies, and everything. All of these things put it in our heads, and we believe them to be true, right? Or we don't know, right? Because we're in forgetfulness here. But no, it's short. No, nothing can possess your body other than you. It is your body. Your soul is connected to it. Nothing can possess your body at all. Period. Whether you believe, unless you really believe it can, and you're asking, maybe. But as far as I know, no, nothing can enter your body. I've been leaving my body for a year, 2 years now, and no, nothing's going to enter your body. As far as I know, your body's connected to your soul. Nothing can enter it. And I also wanted to touch on, you were talking about us being gods. So from a human perspective, what we perceive God to be is somebody who has the ability to create a universe, somebody who has the ability to pick you here, somebody that has the ability to judge you on your life. All of those characteristics is you. So in human terms, we literally are God. The God that everybody, that's us, because we all have the ability to create a universe. We are the ones who chose to come here, and we are the only ones that are going to judge ourselves. So in that sense, we are God. We aren't source. We aren't, the end all be all, but we are gods. I hear people often say we're gods with a lowercase g. I like that term.
I use that term a lot. Gods with the lowercase g, because where I personally got that from was the fact that we read a lot of ancient stories about these beings that pretend to be gods, right? So those are the ones that I refer to as gods with the lowercase g. They were gods in the story, in the myth, in the essence of things. Compared to the humans, yeah, they were godlike, but they were gods with the lowercase g. So that's what I mean by that. So I appreciate you clarifying the whole situation with the fear state and how your body can't be possessed unless you allow it, because it also makes me think about this. You guys heard of channelers, people who channel beings, right? Like when they channel beings, in a sense, this other energy along with theirs is inhabiting their body, but these channelers aren't being fully possessed. Like they're allowing this energy to take inhabitants for a moment to download a message or to speak through them, and then they go away. So what are your thoughts, Hector? I'm going to go to you first. What are your thoughts about channeling? Like, what are your perspectives, good or bad? What's your thoughts about that?
We're all channels. We're all channels of information. The only difference is that everything is an energy signature. So when you match that vibe, you connect with the knowledge that lives on that vibe. Humanity is it's the same as very similar to the other side, because stories and knowledge is passed down by others. Like there are beings what I left and I seen Tío Paco. I'm sitting in front of another being who's teaching me something. I'm sitting there in front of him and he's teaching me something. So humanity needs lessons right now that come from higher frequencies, then because some humans can't perceive them directly, someone else had to come and bring a message. So I don't think that there's a possession per se. They're not being possessed by this being, but they're connecting with this being, and this being is moving information through that body that is available and it's matching at the same signature. That's my take on channeling. I could be wrong, but that's what makes sense to me with what I experience. And I am I'm writing a book right now, and it feels like I'm channeling it. It really feels like, because I start writing and my hands is just going, 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 going. And then I sit back and I read and I'm like, damn, that just came from me, but it really feels like it's being just given to me by and it's probably my higher self. It's probably because when Andre's talking about the multiple lives, I'm getting to 100% convinced that as we speak right now, we are experiencing another life in a different realm. I'm 100. Like, just saying that right now, I just went from 99.9999 to 100% certain that we are experiencing multiple lives right now. The thing is, the time and space don't allow you to see it in this realm. But when I go somewhere and I am that person, if it doesn't feel like you're not a stranger, like you were in that life, what's linking to that life is this consciousness that I bring there, which is very weird. And I was having a conversation with a girl, and she's like, "Well, the stairs showed up in my house in an OBE, and I walked up the steps. She didn't have no steps in her living room, so she walks up. She's curious, and there's a meeting happening. She sits at the table, and she start telling a dude that she knows him, and the guy's looking at her like Andre's saying, like we were talking about before. They're like, she's asking him their name, and they just smiling. They not telling her anything because they know that she just got into that, like, in between. You were just here with us having this meeting. Like, how you asking for our names type approach, because I told her, look, you were just there probably directing that conversation. And all of a sudden, the little you that's on earth joined the conversation for a second, and you just discombobulated your, everything, because you brought that little bit that we bring to earth. I don't think we bring our whole self to earth. I think that we just, bring a little bit here to experience what we have to. Could be wrong, but that's how I feel 100%.
Yeah. No, I love that. I appreciate that perspective. I was, as you were saying that, it reminds me, I was talking to a friend of mine, Chrissy Channels. She's a channeler. She's on one of my last episodes. She was referring to the fact that we are actually, there's multiple versions of us existing right now, like you were saying, living their lives, and they're focusing on just that life, just like we can focus on this life right now. They're focusing on that one too. And there's times in our journey, in our existence, that we'll kind of clash for a second, and we'll get their memories, they'll get ours. There's versions of us that are doing this right now, this podcast, but there may be an hour ahead of us or an hour behind us, and times infinity, right? It could be a day, it could be a year, whatever the case is. But the point is that there's an infinite amount of timelines, even a second. And there's times that we'll have these flashes where we'll interact with those versions, and we'll receive information, whether it be, deja vu, I thought I did this, or that's interesting. I don't know what that is until you catch up to it. So I definitely do believe that with what you were saying, you're definitely right on track. We are definitely multi-dimensional beings. So we are definitely experiencing all of this in multiple dimensions, at the same time. I like that. Gentlemen, I want to, as we're kind of getting close here on time, I want to ask you guys a question here. Andre, how has OBEing, let's just call it that, how has this changed your life?
So OBEs changed my life in many ways. The first is, realizing that I exist outside of here. That was a big realization for me. And then from there, it changed how I perceive everyday life, how I interact with people, how I see issues when they arrive, how I perceive reality. It's changed everything. It's changed how I carry myself here. It has changed what I want to do in life. I literally changed my whole environment so I can do this. Things that used to matter to me are no longer important. You realize money doesn't matter. I say all the time, you can chase $1 million here, but it's literally the equivalent of saying, oh, I got $1 million in Grand Theft Auto. yeah, but Grand Theft Auto is not a real life, you know? So that's kind of how I see this. I see this as this is real, you know, this is real. We're real, you know, this is very real. But at the same time, it's not. I see myself as a soul and I see this body as a physical vessel. And I know I am in control of it. I know my thoughts, feelings, and emotions do not control me. I am the observer of my thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and I control it. And it's changed everything. But I will say that it's changed my perception of reality of life. I now don't just believe things, I know them to be true, and it's changed the path that I'm taking on this life, and it's more alignment with why I came to Earth, because we all choose to come here. Some people have been here for many cycles without really being on the other side for a long time. That was not the case for me. I chose to come here and be Andre, and I chose to come here and be Andre to do what I'm doing. I'm a little bit behind the ball than what I thought I would have did, but it's good.
I love that. I love how you both are having your human experience, but are aware of your conscious existence and then balancing the two. That's not easy. That's not easy. And it's also lonely. It can be lonely, you know,
It
even if you have
is.
family, right?
Yeah. So it does get lonely, and it is hard to balance the two, to know the eternal aspect of yourself, what you came here to do, and then you see where you are in your life. You look around, you see the people in your life, you see your environment. 99% of the time, they're not going to line up, because you come here, you're in forgetfulness, and you're navigating things with out of body experiences. Particularly, a lot of people are awake, right? But with the out of body experience particularly, you are back in your soul form. You know things for 100% fact, 100% certainty. So with that, it makes you want to put your life in alignment with um, with what you came here. And a lot of the people say it's lonely, but for me, being an out of body explorer and being very connected with the other side, I understand I'm never alone. I am never alone. I can tap in, I can do all of those things. So for me, particularly, it's a little different. But for those that don't have out of body experiences, that are in body and they're just receiving messages from the other side, and they wake up and they're waking up and all of those things, it can certainly be lonely. And for those people, I would suggest to have an out of body experience, to go home, to remember that you are not alone, to remember that you are always connected, and to remember that everything's okay.
I love that. And Hector, I want you to piggyback off of what Andre said here. Same question to you. I mentioned that it can be a lonely journey, but then Andre just mentioned that we're not really alone. So I want to ask you, where does that loneliness feeling come from then?
It's a lot of it is missing home. You know, the fact that we are in this box of separation, you know, when you're in the spiritual realm, you connect at a deeper level, you know, so not having those deep connections here, you know, it can feel lonely for a lot of people. But I love it. I love the fact that I don't see it like everybody else, because I don't, you know, the level of compassion, and that's how the OB changed me heavily. The level of compassion that I'm experiencing now, it doesn't allow me to. I can't judge people anymore, because I know who they are. I'm like, damn, if you only knew. Like, and it really catches me off guard, because things that used to matter to me, and it's crazy, but it's not even the big things, it's the little things. And then everybody's waiting for a great purpose, to find a great purpose in life, to what's my path? Your path is to wake up today and make your kids feel better, make your wife feel better, make your coworkers feel better, make everybody. And it's not by you know, by spoiling them. It's not by being a doormat. No, it's by knowing who you are and treating them as if they knew who they were. And I think that's what the biggest thing that the outer body did for me, is just brought a huge level of compassion to my heart. And I don't want to be out of my integrity. And integrity to me is being true to myself. So I have to tell customers sometimes, like, no, that's bullshit. I'm not going with that. Clients, I tell them straight up. So it's not that you're a doormat and people get to do whatever they want with you. It's that you know where you stand. And if and experiencing that unconditional love that he's talking about, that Andrew was talking about, I think that once you leave realm one, you'll be reminded. And as soon as you're reminded, it changes you completely, because you cannot, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And the more you bring it to the in-body experience, and I'm probably going to coin that one, but we're here. So let's, why a lot of people is not leaving the body? Because they're not ready to live in integrity. Live in integrity first. Live in integrity first, and then you have access to everything. What good is it for you to, for 15 minutes exit and then come back and be the same, person that you were? First of all, it's going to change you. There's no way around that, but it changed me greatly, and it's lonely. It's lonely because you just don't vibe with everybody else anymore. You see them, like they're it's almost like little kids. Like you see people really like see them like my kids. You're just learning because if you knew. And that's why we come to Earth. This is cool. That's why we bring so little energy here, because we're refining our creative abilities. That's what we do on Earth. I'm 100% convinced that we come here to refine in the law of friction. We gotta, learn about patience. We gotta learn about unconditional love. And the more you progress in those little lessons here, the more you can, because like Darius talk about the constructs stacked up in God's shells that exist, and that's for you, and that's for me. But why would the architect let you lose with all that creation and all that ability to have so many other souls under your care, and you can't even forgive the guy that cut you off here? You know what I mean? You bring yourself to the other side. So the awareness, the consciousness that you have right here, that's where you're at. And obviously, that's home. But there's levels. We're not all the same. We're not all in the same level. We're not all in the same level, because I still have a lot to learn, and you can teach me, and Andrea can teach me, and there's beings that teach you out there. But yeah, I know I said a lot there, but it's just the level of compassion that I have now, and I'm not saying that in any haughty way. I really do feel like I'm God. I feel like for them, like I'm God. And when I get all this, my family's all very religious, but when I check the fruit on your tree, I don't want to follow what you believe, because it doesn't matter what you believe from the word from your mouth out. It depends. What matters is how you really feel about others, and how your actions line up with that. And that I really feel it. Like, my mom it's hard for me to deal with my mom, because it's my mom, but she's never taken a time to see the man that I've become because of her strong beliefs. So you don't get to see what I do, who I am, the people that I'm impacting, not only through my channel, but in my day-to-day life, So when you start coming out the body and you realize that we are all in this forgetfulness, you really start feeling, I think that's the word for me, is compassion. You start feeling compassionate, because the forgetfulness is thick on Earth. And then you want to fight it. And then you want to, I don't talk about anything else. My customer, with my clients, with my family, with anybody. Once you exit, you don't want to do anything else. My girlfriend started exiting. She started leaving the body. She started leaving the body last week. I've been doing it for over a year now, and I've done it before I started doing it consciously. Ask her. Yeah, we're gonna have her in the podcast. I told her what Trump. She's been skydiving. We go to the river all year round. We've been in trips. I'm like, what Trump's peeking into your true nature. She's there's nothing better than that. There's not. You don't want to do anything else. So anyone listening, there's a lot of resources out there. Darius is a great resource. You have the Monroe Institute. You have guys like me that want to put their 2 cents in, and if you can have a peek at the other side, practice, make it your business to. And I'm going to talk about that on the series that I'm putting out, but don't want it so bad that you forget that you're still here. So it's kind of like a balance. Like, want it so bad that you're going to do it, but don't get anxious about it, because anxiety takes you out of the present, and the only way you can access the outer body state is being present. Your body needs to go to sleep while you're present in your consciousness. So it's a very intricate dance that we all do it every night. You're just not aware of it.
Nah, I appreciate that, Hector. And as you were saying that, we're talking about how you see people, like, in a sense, you used the metaphor of children. I was thinking about another word, their innocence, and you were also, it's beautiful that even though as you're living your physical, you're viewing them from a higher conscious mind, conscious sight, just like God or Source looks down on us.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. So for you to be able to put yourself in that perspective, to look down, not as belittling anybody or saying I'm greater, but just change your perspective. It's like if you're in front of your house and you're standing on the driveway and you see your neighborhood one way, then you climb a ladder and go up on the roof, and then now you look at your neighborhood through a higher view. Now you have a better understanding. Like, wow, it's actually kind of beautiful, That's what I'm talking about here. So, and I think that's what you were referring to. So I appreciate that. So gentlemen, I'm going to ask you guys some questions here that I ask all my guests, and we'll do it like this. We'll do Andre, you answer, Hector, and then back and forth. So my first question, Andre, is going to be this. Beyond all the knowledge and experiences that you've gained thus far in your journey, what still leaves you in awe or makes you question everything?
What still leaves me in awe is the fact that I can leave my body and have access to everything, yet still feel like I know nothing.
That's your answer?
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. I want to clarify. That's nice. It was straight to it. And Hector, same question for you, buddy.
Then it doesn't matter where you go, you're still there. That, after everything that I've seen, learned, it's still me. I'm still there. I leave the body, and and I have people that I'm in charge of, not in charge of, but in care of. Like, there's people that I care for outside of this body, beings that come to me for guidance and it's still me. And I sometimes find myself in a pickle, and it's still me. And, and to piggyback of what Andre said, damn, like, I'm really that guy, but I'm here, and I need to be reminded of it through exiting, because, and it's a thick veil. It's a very, very, very thick veil on realm 1. So I can definitely resonate with what he's saying. It's just it's baffling.
Yeah, absolutely. Andre, what's the ultimate purpose of life?
The ultimate purpose of life can be described as experience. That's what creation is for, is to set out to experience itself. Source divided itself up into all these sparks so we can go out and experience ourselves in different forms. That's why we create these universes, these constructs, to have experiences. And that's why you're Cesar and you're Hector, so you can have the Hector experience, you can have the Cesar experience. I'm having an Andre experience right now. Is just experience and growth and knowledge of understanding yourself, your intentions, how you move in certain situations, what triggers you, how do you feel, how to manage your emotions, how does it feel. This experience is about how do you handle and conduct yourself when you have limitations, because we naturally have no limitations. So the realm 1 experience is a human experience, is how do you navigate when you have limitations, when you can experience the illusion of death, when you can experience sickness, when you can experience pain, when you can experience true loss, because nothing ever dies except here.
Yeah. And yeah, I love that. So, I'm learning by Andre, you living your life, and Hector, you living yours. I love it. I get it. And everybody else, the 8.5 billion people, and then however many animals there are, however many blades of grasses, pebbles on the ground, grains of sands. It's a lot of learning, man. We are on a data collecting mission or journey. What's the ultimate purpose, Hector?
Yeah, it's very similar to what Anders said. It's learning on Earth. On Earth, to me, the biggest purpose that we can all, or at least for me, and that I observe is to cooperation. Because the lesson that you expanded on what Anders said, but because of our connection, because we are one tentacle of the octopus, when that piece touches that piece of information, everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. That's why we're on a loop, because whatever was to be learned, it's pretty much already learned by someone. So it's already out there. So the greatest purpose in life is to use every experience to learn. It's an experience that is lived only on that point in life by that person, and it affects everyone. So learning to me is the biggest purpose in life, is to learn and use every experience to learn. Don't hold anybody accountable for their mishaps, because they learning too.
And Andre, what is your definition of God?
So growing up, my definition of God was the person who created this, right? Since I've left my body and I now know 13 souls, just like you and me created this place, my definition of God has since changed. My definition of God is us. We are that. When people think of God, that's me. That's you. And I truly understand that now, after being in my soul form, leaving Earth, seeing the construct, having my memories come back. We really are God. Now, beyond us, there is a source of all things. It's this field of all things. And we are all subsets of that. So, from a bigger perspective, God isn't what created Earth. God isn't what created this universe. God is what created souls. It's like the source of all things. It's not a being, it's everything. And this goes on to what we were saying about experiences. And Hector said cooperation. And that's because we are all pieces of source. So everything that I experience, everything that you experience, everything that Hector experiences, it all goes back to source. And this also ties into what we said about channeling. Hector said everybody can channel. We all can channel. But specifically, what he's talking about is we can all channel from source or your higher self, but we all have the ability to tap into source, which is the field of everything. And that is God. God is everything.
I love that. You made me think that if source, or the essence of source, created souls, then did the souls then create these constructs to then further have these experiences? Like the essence of source just said, boom, like, let me create a bunch of versions, 94.1, 94.2, 94.3. Everybody's got a number, right? Let me create a bunch of these things and just let them just go. Source is trying to find out, what am I? And from the macro to the micro, we always ask ourselves, who am I? What am I? And if we ask ourselves, who else is asking that same question? Source. It's rinse and repeat. Hector, I'm giving it back to you, man. So same question to you. What is your definition of God?
I think Andre dropped the mic right there. God is, it's all, it's everything. It's then everything through everything, and not above everything. It's within everything. It's beneath us. It's around us. It's you. It's me. And I grew up, in the religion, Christianity, and God was so far. God was so far, especially to me, because I was a bad kid, So, I was destined for hell, and that's a very pathetic way to look at yourself. And it's so near that I'm comfortable saying that it's me. It's not, and being out and seeing who you are and what you do, it's like, it's you. It really is you. And you can see it in life. That's the thing. If you want the answers, observe nature. Observe it. You'll see it. You have people right now creating their whole world. Their whole world could be as little as a relationship. It could be as big as a corporation. It could be as medium as a family, but it's their own world. They see everything. They create everything. They mold their Darius taught us something, or he put it into very good words. He said, consciousness dictates reality. And there's many ways that you can say that, but you are the God of your life. You got help. You have a lot of help, but we are gods. We are, I say that with all humility, but check your life out. You'll see that every decision that you made brought you to where you're at. And that's just adding to what Andre say, because he put it better than me for sure.
There ain't no better anyway. It's just another perspective, buddy. It's another perspective. Man, I'm wondering every time you guys answer these questions, you guys give me a thought, but it's a beautiful thing, man. Like while you were saying that, Andre, I thought about when you were talking about being a neo soul and experiencing all your lives, right? You know, how you stepped into that passenger seat and I guess just went for the ride. What if we're doing that right now? But what if we are actually, forget time and whatever. What if right now, like what we're doing, you're sitting there, I'm sitting here, we're just reliving this. And then before you know it, we just kind of snap, wake up, moving on to the next thing.
So Cesar, that's very funny because it very well could be that. And when I was there in Neo Soul, there was times when I tried to disrupt something. Like I remember talking to my friend who was Francis, but he wasn't Francis. He was in another body. And I was like, bro, I'm not this person. I was like, I'm Andre from New York. I'm an out-of-body traveler. I'm here. And he was like, what are you talking about? So there was times and I felt like I was in his life and I was disrupting that timeline. So I don't know if I was really there living it or what. So that it very well could be. And then again, we could all be in some dog's dream right now,
Love dog's dream, but the fact that you can remember that you're Andre from New York in this other place, in this other life, there's been so many people that you've heard stories about in years past, even before our lifetime, where they've come back and they're like, I'm not this person, I'm something else. I'm somebody else. Some kind of confusion, consciousness, switching stuff, like that could be that. But it's so far out of our normal understanding. And I say normal with a grain of salt, but of our mainstream understanding that we just dismiss it. People back in the day will get put into the mental ward and then get drilled in the head, just because of that. So unbelievable. But to not go far off on that, let me go back to this other question. Andre, what's love?
Love. So love is the fundamental language of the universe. Love is what creation is made from. Love is your natural frequency. Love is abundance. Love is not lacking. Love is everything. Here in realm 1 on Earth, we have a common misunderstanding of what love really is. We think love is needing somebody. We think love is everything. Love is doing things in integrity. Love is doing things from certainty. Love is doing things unconditionally, right? Love is how you raise your son, right? When he does something wrong, you still put him in check, but it's from a place of love. It's hard to really describe what love is because love is the base frequency on the other side, but it's really hard to put that into human words to describe it because love is the fabric of everything. And out of my body, I really grasp this, but then coming back to Earth, it kind of dies down. But love is everything. Love is what the universe is created out of. Love is doing this podcast with you guys. Love is living life. Love is waking up and just breathing. Love is everything.
And Hector, same to you.
Yep. So love is honey. I used that on our last podcast, and that's what's been in my heart lately. It sweetens everything up. It's sticky. It holds everything together. It's nourishing. It's just so, it doesn't go bad, preserves, and it's in everything, that when my Tío Paco hit me with that dose of love, it hit me hard to the core. Like I felt that times a million, like the butterflies, but it was deeper than that, and it just threw me back in my body, and I wasn't even physical. I was water when I came back to the body. That's how hard and how available and how powerful that substance is. It's a substance. When you're out, you're a being inside that honey. So I think that Andre, he's good. It's everything. Love is everything. I think God is love. I think that they're synonyms. I think God and love are very synonyms. So
yeah, it sounds like from the way you guys describe it, we are love.
We are love.
We are the who, what, where, why, and how of love. I like it. Andre, if you could talk to little Andre, what would you tell him?
So I have two little Andres, me, and then my son is actually little Andre. So, no, but if I could talk to little Andre, little myself, I would tell him, follow your heart. You have all the answers. Don't look for answers on the out front. Don't look for external answers. You have all the answers. Nobody else has the complete story here. Follow your gut, follow your heart, follow what you know to be true. Because what you know to be true is way more real, way more true than anything you will ever read in a textbook. Probably the best advice I could give myself.
I love that. I appreciate that, Andre. And Hector, let's do this. Take yourself right now back to 14-year-old Hector. Right now, just take yourself right over there and talk to him. What would you tell him?
Keep on fucking up. Keep on fighting. Keep on smoking weed. Keep on doing everything that you're doing right now, because in due time, you'll learn on your own. It doesn't matter that they don't love you. You're lovable, and you will soon enough remember that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And for those of you that are aware of, quantum jumping, quantum
entanglement,
in a sense, you all can do just that small exercise. I did that for a reason. Hector just talked to himself. Okay. And for those of you that are carrying trauma with you today, take 5-10 minutes, go to the bathroom, go somewhere that you won't be disturbed, and just close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, take yourself back to whatever age where you felt that you first felt said trauma, and just talk to yourself. That moment where you're crying, let's say you just got yelled at, whatever the case is, talk to yourself, then heal yourself. And then once you feel like you've said what you needed to say to yourself, come back.
And the reason I talk to Hector like that is because if every step I took, regardless of what anybody was trying to tell me not to do or this or that, I wouldn't be me today. If they didn't shoot in my, like I got shot at to my face with my own 45, stabbed, 6 years in prison, divorce, bankruptcy, jumped, you name it. If all that didn't happen, you wouldn't be talking to me today. So I need to accept that whole journey. And I have. So there's no more healing to do. It's time to heal others.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And a friend of mine, Tony Ghazi, would say to you, honor yourself, just like you're doing. Honor yourself, both of you. I love it. And gentlemen, my last question to you is this. Andre, where can people find you?
So people can find me on my Instagram. It's _369 Alchemist 369. Also on Patreon, The Alchemist 369. And you can find me on YouTube on the BamHek channel.
It's happening.
Awesome. And Bam, same question to you. How can they find you?
BamHek TV on YouTube. First of all, man, thank you. You're such a great host. We're about to put a podcast together, and we got a lot of notes to take because as I'm observing you, you're very open to every piece of the conversation. And not only that, but it's like, you have to be a great listener to do this kind of work, because you have to kind of like open your ears and at the same time keep your mind a little bit, I don't know. As you have a great, I think you're gonna do great with this podcast if you keep going, because you have a lot of great qualities that make a great interviewer, and this subject just fits you right. But so yeah, you can find me on BamHek TV, BamHek TV. There's a few videos there. There's a series of how to attain the outer body experience. It's going to be a couple part series. So, it's free. Really want to spread the message. And I'm just talking about what I do, the way that I see life. So yeah, and then once I come back from our retreat, we're gonna be pumping all this content on all platforms. So that's the goal, is to have all platforms saturated with our message.
I love it. And Hector, I received those kind words, and I nothing but gratitude, buddy. I appreciate that. And gentlemen, so the last thing I really want to just let you guys do is, Andre, you first. Give the listeners some last words of advice or comment or statement, as you will.
So my last words of advice I would like to leave everybody with is that to remember you are an eternal soul. If you came across this video, it was for a reason. Your soul is bringing you here to wake up, to remember that you are an eternal soul. And all of these experiences that I talked about today, that Hector talked about, you can do it too. Have no fear, because there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Break all your belief systems here. If you feel out of place on earth, it is for a reason, and it is because everything here is the furthest from the truth. So you hear this all the time. The answers are within you. The kingdoms of heaven are within you. So go within, and if you go within deep enough, you'll actually leave this body. So yeah, the answers are within you.
I appreciate that, Andre. And Hector, same with you. Last words, please. Last words for this episode. Not last words eternally, but yes, last words for this episode, please.
Lethal injections next. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. There are no mistakes. Every decision that you're about to make is gonna take you to where you need to be. Love yourself. That's why I talk like that to little Heck, because he couldn't love himself just because he wasn't doing what other people thought it was his path. Whatever you find in front of the mirror. I was with my family the other day, and on my birthday, actually, last year. And this kid, two young guys with an older woman, they were pulling into the smoke shop next to where we were going to eat. And I seen all his tracks. He had a bunch of tracks in his arms because he was shooting dope or whatever he was shooting, probably fentanyl, I don't know, some drug. And he was high. They were all high. And, I talked to him. I'm like, hey, how you doing, bro? He's like, I'm good. And as soon as I looked at his tracks, he went like this. He tried to cover them. And I told him, man, show him proudly, because that's who you are. That's who you are today. He's like, no, I'm gonna this. I ain't getting high. Is it, from last week, some shit like that. But I'm like, nah. Love that. Even that. Love it. Love you. Love where you're at right now, because until you do that, you cannot move forward. You cannot move forward, because who you are right now is who you are, and that is lovable. That person is worth celebrating, and it's your story. And if you someday come out of the darkness you find yourself in, that's the story that you're gonna tell. You're not gonna, that boring story, nobody wanna listen to a boring story, and we all have to contribute to the awakening of humanity. But that only happens when you accept yourself and you love yourself, when you're okay with what's in front of you. So love yourself. That's why in every video I said, if no one told you today that they love you, I love you from the bottom of my heart, because I love me. So love yourself. Be courageous. Don't be a pussy. Stand in front of your fears. And it's okay to be afraid, because you can't be courageous without facing fear. So fear is okay. Just don't let it stop you. And acknowledge God in all your ways. I'm not talking about little G-O-D. I'm talking about the creator of the universes decided to experience life through you. So you must be somebody.
Yeah, man. I love it. I love both of y'all's perspective, and the way you talk to that individual. It resonated, because it sounds like you were telling him that he is who he needed to be right now. Like, he needed that experience. For everybody else, it looks like it sucks. But we're not talking about the physical. We're talking about his journey. That's what he needed to be. And that reminds me, folks, if you see somebody less fortunate out on the street, homeless in this case, don't look at them as if they're stupid or uneducated. Don't judge. They have chosen that path. they've chosen that path both spiritually and physically. Just try to judge less, be more open to listen, be more to be understanding, be more compassionate, change. When you come across a problem, change your perspective. A lot of people don't realize that is probably one of the best ways to solve a problem. If you are in a maze and you have blocks all over, you don't know how to get to the end. But if you go up just a little bit, you have now changed your perspective of the same situation, but now you have a better understanding of it. So if you ever have any problem, wherever you're at, find that change of perspective. I'll let you figure that out, but just change your perspective and then attack it. Address that solution from that new site and see how that works out for you. If you guys ever come across that, send me a comment, send me an email, and let me know what your situation was, what your new perspective was, and what the end result that is. I'm very curious, genuinely. And with that said, folks, gentlemen, it was a pleasure and honor. I thank both of you for being part of this podcast. I'd like to remind everybody, I love you, I see you, I hear you, I am you. Folks, continue to ask questions. Don't be afraid to pull back the curtain and take a deeper look. Push forward, always reaching beyond the frequency.